finally going back. For the first time in a generation, humans are leaving the cradle of Earth and pointing themselves toward the moon again. This is the story of Artemis 2, a mission that really is the dawn of a whole new age of exploration.
So here's what we're going to break down. We'll kick things off with why this is such a huge deal, the Great Return. Then, you'll meet the 4 incredible pioneers making the trip. After that, we'll get into the hardware, comparing the brand new tech to the legendary Apollo gear. We'll follow their 10-day flight path, and finally, we'll get to the heart of it, why this mission is so important for the future.
All right, first up, the Great Return. It sounds simple, but that phrase, man, it carries the weight of 50 years of waiting. Think about it. Whole generations have grown up only reading about moon missions in history books. For them, for all of us, this is the return to a frontier we honestly thought we'd left behind for good. And this quote, it just nails the feeling of this new era perfectly. This isn't like the Cold War space race of the 60s. It's not about planting one country's flag. It's a collective effort, a symbol of nations working together to push our boundaries together. Let that number sink in for a second. 54 years. That's how long it's been since Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon, left his footprints in the dust back in 1972. It's a moment an entire generation, maybe 2, has been waiting to see happen again. So, who are the 4 trailblazers actually strapping into the capsule for this historic ride? Well, it's time to meet the Artemis crew. At the helm, you've got Commander Reed Wiseman, with the very experienced astronaut Victor Glover as pilot. And they're joined by 2 mission specialists who are, making some pretty significant history of their own.
First, there's NASA's Christina Koch. She already holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman. And then, and this is a huge sign of that international partnership we were talking about, Jeremy Hansen from the Canadian Space Agency is about to become the very first non-American to ever fly to the moon. Now, this crew isn't going anywhere without some seriously impressive hardware. So the big question is, how does the tech of today stack up against the legendary machines of the Apollo era? Let's dig into the hardware.
The jump from Apollo is, well, it's immediately obvious. The new Orion spacecraft is wider, it carries that 4th astronaut, and it has over 50% more living space. And that extra room is absolutely crucial for longer missions. Oh, and maybe the most welcome upgrade for a 10-day journey? It has an actual toilet. A small, but let's be honest, significant upgrade in deep space comfort. Now, getting all that off the ground is the job of the Space Launch System, or SLS. It is, by the numbers, the most powerful rocket ever built in terms of pure liftoff thrust. But here's a super interesting little twist. The legendary Saturn V, while it had less punch at launch, could actually carry a heavier payload all the way to the moon, 45 tons versus the SLS's 27. Why? Well, it's because the Saturn V's 3rd stage was custom built for that one big push, something the current SLS isn't designed for.
But look, at that single moment of liftoff, it is all about raw power. And the SLS unleashes a just staggering 39 meganewtons of thrust, giving it a clear edge over the Saturn V. It's that brute force you absolutely need to break free from Earth's gravity and start the journey.
Okay, so we've got the crew, we've got the machine, now let's follow their path. This is the 10-day journey of the lunar flyby. The whole thing is this carefully choreographed 10-day flight. Day 1 is all about launching, getting to orbit, and checking all the systems. On day 2, they hit the gas, that crucial engine burn that flings them out of Earth's orbit and sets them on a course for the moon. Day 5 is the main event. They'll swing around the far side, and then gravity will do the work of pulling them back for a fiery re-entry and a splashdown on day 10. Those final moments of the countdown are just a series of irreversible decisions. At T-minus 10 minutes, you get that final go from everyone. At 33 seconds, the computers take over. There's no turning back. Just over 6 seconds to go, the main engines roar to life. And then at T0, ignition of the solid rocket boosters, and you have liftoff.
And during that flyby, this crew is going to etch their names into the history books. They're going to travel farther from our planet than any human has ever gone before, reaching a distance of over 400,000 kilometers. This will break a record that's been held for over 50 years by the crew of Apollo 13, who, you'll remember, set it not by choice but out of pure necessity on their dangerous journey home.
So you might be thinking, if they aren't landing or even orbiting the moon, what's the point? And that brings us to the most important question of all. Why does this mission matter so much? Because this is no joyride. It's one of the most critical test flights in the history of space travel.
The whole mission is built around this incredibly elegant concept called a free return trajectory. It basically uses the moon's gravity as a giant cosmic slingshot. Once they're on that path, gravity alone is going to pull them around the moon and guide them straight back to Earth. It's the ultimate safety net. Even if their engines completely failed, nature makes sure they get home.
So, the best way to think of Artemis 2 is as the ultimate shakedown cruise. For the first time ever, all of Orion's systems, everything from navigation to life support, are being pushed to the limit with a human crew in the truly unforgiving environment of deep space. Before we can land, before we can even think about building a base, we have to prove that the ride itself is safe. That is the entire point of this flight.
This mission isn't the final destination. It's the key that unlocks the door to everything that comes next. It proves we can safely send people back into deep space. And with that door now officially open, the real question isn't just about returning to the moon. It's about how far we're willing to go now that we know we can.